Hey everybody, good evening. Gonna just chilling out tonight, so I'm gonna go through what I've been listening to lately and just give you some recommendations. Stuff's been pretty alright. Just rehearsing for next week with Crepes and Vanity Contest. Very much looking forward to both of those shows. I think they'll be fucking great. So I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna start with the CDs and work my way down to the vinyl. But it's been a lot of different stuff this week, at least stuff that I haven't either picked up in a while or I've only just gotten around to recently. So first CD was actually another copy of Bad Violence. I've been listening to the CP again a lot lately. Um, Except this one I put in a digipack tray to kind of have it blend in with the rest of my copies of the rest of the trilogy, because the only one that actually originally came with the tray was not the actual vents. So I put a tray into Bedwitch, and now I have a copy of Bad Violence that is not super beat up like my original copy. It's seen better days. It's got a lot of the printing kind of fading off and stuff, and then the inside super ripped up from first trying to attempt that. So and the CD is also super scratched, and you can see it's kind of warped there on the edges and frayed and shit. So I just wanted to get a fresh copy to, because that copy has been through hell. So, anyways, I've been also listening to The New Regime. I've been listening to Exhibit A and B. I think they're pretty solid additions in the catalog, and I really wish he'd reissue the vinyl, because that's the only gap I have out of the vinyl stuff he's put out. Yeah, so I'd like to pick that up eventually. The original press was a double LP crystal clear vinyl, so maybe somebody has a copy floating around that's willing to sell it for a reasonable price. I'd like to have an original, but I'm not really picky, and I just don't see him as super quick to make an expense like putting another record out on vinyl after Heart, Mind, Body, and Soul. Because I don't know how that sold. I don't know how many copies he did, but it's not sold out, and it was limited edition, so usually his stuff tends to stick around in shops, and I've even asked Alon myself if he had any copies, and he said no, so maybe someday, if he's up for it. Also been listening to Klaxons. Finally got this record, Myths of the Near Future, and I recently learned the track that sold me on it, It's Not Over Yet, was a cover. It's a cover of this super dancey track from the 90s. I'll link it, the original version. I forgot who exactly did it. But that's what hooked me on the band, was that cover, and I only found out it was a cover recently, so I learn something new every day. I also checked out something new, like pretty new to me, was My Life in the Bush of Ghosts by Brian Eno and David Byrne. This is my copy without the slipcase over the CD, but very bizarre record. I mean, I figured it would be weird considering it's Brian Eno and David Byrne, but man, I was especially surprised at how not like quick I was to gravitate towards it, but I still really enjoyed it. I like a lot of weird shit anyways, so it's like a little bit in my wheelhouse, but definitely like I think I've never really taken the deep dive on a lot of David Byrne stuff. I know his style generally, but I wasn't expecting it to be so heavily dominating on this record. And maybe I just need to give it some more listens, but the reason I picked it up was because it was the inspiration for it was inspiration it's the inspiration for Ghosts 1 through 4. One of my favorite Nine Inch Nails records. Trent talked about that being a big influence, and my brother really likes David Byrne, and I liked the Ambient series from Brian Eno. So I was pretty quick to pick it up once I saw a copy. I was like, oh shit, I should get that. And the vinyl, I'd like to get a vinyl copy eventually, but it's just a matter of like finding a good press with, I know there's some like variations of the vinyl presses where it's like not all of the record always, so I'd like to eventually find a copy with all of this version of the album, because I'm pretty sure the original issues didn't include the last third, because I remember seeing on Discogs it was like just side 1 and 2 of this version on most of the vinyl copies. I'd eventually like to find all 3 sides on vinyl, if that's a thing. I'd have to look more into it, so if I sound like a fucking noob, then there you go. I'm just not well versed in the record yet. Another record I picked up was, or CD, Pulseprogramming. I learned they were a Chicago electronic act produced by Charlie Cooper of Telephone Tel Aviv. This is Tulsa for 1 second, and it was about what I expected. But the reason this caught my attention was because the packaging was kind of badass. It folds into a house shape, so it's kind of got the little flaps there. These kind of come up, and then you just fold it over. I haven't gotten to. It's pretty old and beat up, so I haven't wanted to really potentially damage the copy by fucking with the. Because these edges and corners here are really worn, so it's like I don't want to fucking damage it. And there's also no inner sleeve for the CD in it, which is irritating, so we have to pick some of those up at some point. Yeah, but very interesting record. I'm definitely gonna check out their first one. But that's as far as I remember, that's the only 2 they ever put out. So I don't know about that project. I mean, I could find very little about the project, so. Clearly, they were not ones to keep a lot of record of their existence, unlike me, who fucking does way too much to post as much as I can with band shit. Yeah, and another thing I found last week was the first Health album on CD, which I don't have any Health on CD. And I know those first 2 records, sometimes they can get a little hard to find. So I picked it up because I wanted to cover with the original all bright neon blue artwork, unlike my minty vinyl press, which I have, which is the original press of that record. So I was very happy to have seen that. I never see Health at any of the record shops that I go to, so I was like, oh shit, why not? At least until they drop, whenever they're dropping Disco 4 Part 2. Which actually I just listened to the single that just came from that today, the one with Poppy. I really liked it. And lastly, I've been listening to Iowa again by Slipknot, my deluxe copy. So, fuck, I don't know what else to say about that record. It's great. It's fucking Iowa. Crazy fucking record. But it's beside the point. I'm gonna move on to vinyl now, because there's not a whole lot. So, only a few records really that I've been listening to lately on the turntable. Nude with Boots. Finally gave this a spin. I haven't yet. I got this literally in like June. I just never got around to checking it out yet, and the press was fucking excellent, man. Like, this is a damn good vinyl reissue. Like, I'm happy to pick this up after giving this a listen. And I'm really dying to get that See Now Animal re-press whenever they fucking announce that in December. I'm dying to get that because I would like a copy of my favorite Melvins album. And this is a close second. I really like Nude with Boots. I think it's a really weird one. I don't like how it ends. It ends on a very bizarro note, which, I mean, it's Melvins, so I get it, but I don't agree with Buzz saying this was the best one they did with Big Business. I completely disagree. I think See No Animal was the best one they did with Big Business. And Bread Scream Murder is just fine. I like it, okay, but it's a little, I don't know. It's not, it kind of feels a little too, not forgettable, but it just, there wasn't as much impact on Bread Scream Murder compared to Nude with Boots or, you know, See No Animal, of course. Like, I remember way more of Nude with Boots and See No Animal than I do Bright Screamer. I just never clicked much with that one, so that's why it's not really my favorite of theirs out of those 3. But hey, if they like it, cool. I mean, it's a good record, so there's that. Another edition was finally, I don't know if I've talked about this yet, but I finally got Fragile Deviations for a solid price. I got it for about, like, I think $30 off what it normally goes for, which is like $80. So Thank you, Discogs. It was a damn good call on my end to pick that up when I saw it at that price, because this is a great reissue, or great issue of this version of the album. My favorite Nine Inch Nails album, The Fragile. I love a lot of the bonus tracks. I forgot they included the New Flesh and 10 Miles High on this. Very happy to have picked it up. I do wish the packaging wasn't as minimal, because it's $80, you know, it's a 4 LP. They were charging $45 for Ghosts 1 through 4 back in the day, and that was not nearly, you know, that's reasonable, I feel like, for a 4 LP, you know, like and that's a longer record than this one, so it's like, I don't get what they're charging so much more for. Maybe it's because the gatefold is so much bigger. I don't know. I learned that I've looked into getting vinyl made, and a lot of the cost comes from printing out the artwork, because fucking ink is so expensive. It didn't register with me that was like a really expensive part of the process. You wouldn't think, considering the format itself is so much work to get made, but yeah, it was really an eye-opener to see, because I was looking at getting Vanity Contest vinyl made, and it was about $1,800 for 250 copies, which is not as much as I was expecting, but like a solid 900 of that was from the fucking printing. So like, and that wasn't even like anything fancy. That was just like a normal like single ply jacket that was like, you know, like not even a gatefold. So I was just kind of blown away that was the bulk of the cost. Was almost half the fucking pricing on that, and it's just like, holy shit, you know. It's like, okay, so I kind of get why it's $80, but also like, come on, you know. But yeah, like if you can get the fucking gatefolds done for Ghosts, and and cram 4 LPs into that. I'm not saying do that, but you know, I don't think it needed to be $80. I'm thankful that the general resale community is like, you know, this is like $60 maybe on average. So it's like, that's nice, you know. Like, people don't charge nearly as much as the actual Nine Inch Nails store does, which, I mean, it's been out for like 4 years now, so that also probably has something to do with it. So, I mean, it was limited one-time press, and I still fucking see copies up all the time everywhere, so it can't be that limited. Last thing I've been listening to has been Death from Walk with Love and Death. I picked this up at one of their shows. Last time I saw them at Park West in 2018. Yeah, 2018. But the thing is, with this, is I have a mispress. This is the wrong music on each disc. So it's the colored vinyl purple and orange press, or purple and pink press, if I remember correctly. But it was pressed on the wrong records. So the Death disc is technically the Love disc, and the Love disc is the Death disc, and yeah, and the opposite colors and shit. But this is a gorgeous press. I am happy to have picked it up when I did, because this is, I have a soft spot for this one, despite it not being people's favorites. This is the first one with Stephen McDonald, who, if you don't know him, you should. He's a fucking excellent bass player, and Red Cross are really fucking good. Ton of fun live, too, to watch. He's a great musician, just knows his shit really well. And, I picked this up when it came out, the day of, on CD. I actually still have my original CD copy. Very beat up. This stayed in my bag pretty regularly, too, alongside Ad Violence over that summer that these two records dropped. And I didn't pick up the vinyl until about a year later, because it was like $60 or something. It was really expensive for just the 2 LPs, just with a fuck ton of packaging. Which, like, it's great. It's a really nice package. It's like a nice, sturdy, thick cardboard box, and it's, you know, doesn't feel like it's got good weight to it. You know, it doesn't feel like it's not worth the money. But I paid $30 for this at their show, when I got it. So I feel like that was a little bit more reasonable to pay for it. You know, that's a little bit more reasonable price to pay for it than what the shops were charging at the time. But one thing that was surprising was that it was signed, and they were only charging $30 for it. Because normally the signed shit that they do always goes for like quite a bit more. Like the hand screen printed, it's been touched by Buzz Osborne and Mackie Osborne, you know, where they fucking do like crazy stamps and letter presses and shit. And those always go for at least like $100 at their shows because those are like super rare and stuff. But I was surprised to have seen this going for only $30 and brand new too. The only thing that was different and that wasn't new about it was that it wasn't in the shrink wrap because it was signed. But yeah, a lot of great memories with that record. I really like the Death Disc a lot. Some favorite tracks off of it for me are Black Health. I really like Soberdelic. What's Wrong with You? Flaming Creature, Edgar the Elephant, Cactus Party. About like a little over half the record I really like. It's got some great artwork too, like the semi-gloss spot finish in certain areas. Crazy fucking artwork as always. Great stuff. Really love this record. Really appreciate it. I don't think it's anybody's favorite, and it's not my favorite either, but I have a soft spot for it because of the memories attached to the record. Although the soundtrack, well, it's the Melvins doing a soundtrack, and it's not the same soundtrack that was even in the short film that they finally premiered to the public last year. Holy hell. I wanted to get the DVD so bad when it dropped, and then they didn't fucking drop the DVD other than with like $100 screen printed edition of the record, which like cool, but that's too much for one fucking soundtrack. That's for a short film. That's weird and kind of cool. It's kind of animated and stuff. It's interesting to look at, but there's not much going on there, you know. It's kind of just, it's Melvin's doing a soundtrack for a short film that I was expecting a little bit more out of, considering it was done by a guy who was not really in the Melvins camp, and yet it still feels like it was done by Buzz and Mackie in like their fucking, you know, basement or something. I mean, it was I was happy to have watched it again, to finally gotten to watch it, but like if I paid $100 for that, I'd be pissed. Yeah, that's kind of been what I've been listening to. It's just about been it. Mostly just getting ready for next week and eagerly anticipating both shows. I think we're going to kick ass. If you're in Chicago and you're watching this, come to both if you dare, or come to Vanity Contest or just come to Creeps. Either. I mean, Creeps one's going to be pretty busy and pretty packed, but Vanity Contest one, we're going to kick some ass. We're opening for some great bands. I've got show posters. We're going to be doing hoodies for the fall weather. So yeah, come on out if you get a chance. We're doing really cool stuff for the show. We're going to do some very, 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 very cool, we're going to do something really special with the show. So I think it'll be cool. You guys will like it if you end up showing up. So yeah, if you get a chance next week, come on out. $10 in advance, 13 at the doors. I'll drop a link in the comments or description. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna fucking go to bed. Night.